Welcome to episode 3 of True Crime and Sims. We're going to play a little Sims while learning about a historic true crime case. This week, we're going to be talking about the mysterious Belle Gunness. Our story begins with Brynhild Storseth, who was born on November 11th, 1859, in Norway. She was the youngest of 8 children and was raised in the Lutheran Church. From a young age, she dreamed of moving to America. By 14, she was working odd jobs and saving money for the long boat ride. At 22, Brynhild finally moved to the United States. Upon her arrival, she changed her name to Belle. She then began to track down her sister Nellie, who had immigrated a few years earlier. Her sister was living in Indiana, which is how Belle herself came to live in that state. Belle married a man named Mads Sorensen. The two opened a candy shop, but the business endeavor proved to be unsuccessful. The candy shop would then burn down. Luckily, the business had been insured. Not long after the loss of the candy shop, the couple also lost their house in a fire. The loss of their household gave them another insurance payout. The couple would then use their insurance settlement to purchase a new home. Belle and her husband would have 4 children together: Carolyn, Axel, Myrtle, and Lucy. They also took in a foster child that was later known as Jenny Olsen. Sadly, Belle would lose her husband to heart disease. According to the doctor, it had been an ongoing problem in his life. With another stroke of luck, Belle lost her husband on the one day that his 2 insurance policies overlapped. One policy had been about to expire, and the couple had purchased a new one to replace it. Belle might have suffered from a string of misfortunes, but she still had the insurance payouts. To some degree, she must have been pitied by those around her. However, there was one doctor that wasn't falling for her act. When this doctor examined the body of Mads Sorensen, he suspected that the man had died of strychnine poisoning. His concerns were overruled, and Mads' death was listed as resulting from heart disease. 2 of Belle's children, Carolyn and Axel, would die from acute colitis. It's worth noting that some of the symptoms of acute colitis and strychnine poisoning overlap. Things like nausea, fever, and abdominal pain are common in both. The death of these 2 children resulted in further insurance payouts for Belle. As I'm sure you're assuming by now, at least some of Belle's misfortune was caused by her own hand. While Mads' family tried to convince police to question her concerning her husband's sudden death, the police failed to bring charges against Belle. She used her insurance payouts to move to another part of Indiana. She bought a farm in the town of LaPorte. Around this time, she met a man named Belle Gunness. Peter had recently been widowed, leaving him the sole caretaker of his 2 children. Like Belle, Peter was a native of Norway. Peter decided to marry Belle. Within the first week of their marriage, Peter's newborn daughter passed away. 8 months into their marriage, Peter also died. Peter must have suspected Belle to some extent, because at some point during their marriage, he sent his older daughter to live with relatives. Peter worked as a butcher. His life ended after a meat grinder fell off a kitchen shelf and landed on his head. The town folk found that to be suspicious, that a well-trained butcher would die from such a mishap. The coroner firmly believed that Peter had been murdered. Jenny Olsen would tell a schoolmate that she had witnessed her mother kill her father, and Belle would benefit from Peter's life insurance policy. A jury was convened to listen to evidence against Belle. The woman revealed that she was pregnant and somehow managed to convince the jury that she was completely innocent. Belle would then give birth to a son, Philip, who was likely Peter's. In modern times, many people turn to online dating websites to find love. At this point, people would utilize newspaper ads to find love. Belle would place ads in newspapers to find help for her farm, but also to find new romances. She would place these ads in newspapers and convince men to come to her farm. From these newspaper ads, Belle found Ray Lanfer. She hired him to be a helping hand around the farm. Ray would brag to everyone in town that he had begun a relationship with his employer. A string of men would then start visiting Belle's farm. They had answered her ads for love and come to the farm to meet her. She would often tell them to bring money to invest in the farm or pay off some debt. She would try to convince these men not to tell anyone that they were coming to visit her. Ray would experience intense jealousy upon seeing Belle with these other men. Many men who showed up to Belle's house, would never be seen again. At one point, Belle began a relationship with George Anderson. He had answered Belle's ad and had agreed to pay off her mortgage if she agreed to marry him. When he came to visit Belle, he was put in her guest bedroom. In the middle of the night, he awoke to see Belle standing over him with a candle. There was something about the look on her face that terrified him. He would later describe the look as murderous. When Belle noticed he was awake, it must have frightened her because she hurried away. George was spooked by what he had seen. He quickly fled the house, leaving behind everything he had brought with him. He would never return to the Gunness household again. Belle's suitors would continue to disappear. Sometimes their families would reach out to Gunness, trying to figure out where they had gone. Belle would claim that they had either already left, or she would deny ever having met them to begin with. Between 1902 and 1908, many men would fall victim to Belle Gunness. These men included John Moo, who I also saw listed as John Moe, Henry Gerholt, and Olaf Svenherd. In 1907, Belle began corresponding with a guy named Andrew Helligan. The two spent some time writing to each other before Belle convinced him to leave his native South Dakota and join her in Indiana. Before coming, Andrew would withdraw his life savings, $2,800, which in today's money would be about $80,000. Andrew would deposit the money into the local bank. With a new love in her life, Ray became a major problem. He couldn't stand the fact that Belle was moving on with another man. Belle ended up having to fire him and called the police on him. Belle claimed that Ray was unstable and tried to make the police lock him up for his mental instability. The police would ultimately let him go. After Andrew disappeared, Ray seemed to imply that he and Belle had done something to make him disappear. Andrew's brother Azel wrote to Gunness asking for information concerning his brother's whereabouts. Belle said that Andrew had left the area. She agreed to search for Andrew, but only if Azel paid her for her efforts. Around this time, Gunness went to see a lawyer. She stated that she was worried Ray posed a major threat. She made out a will, leaving her earthly goods to her surviving children. This time, she didn't share her concerns with the police. In 1908, Gunness hired a new man to fill Ray's vacant position. This man was named Joe Maxon. A couple months into his employ, he awoke to smoke. He called out for Belle and her children, but heard no reply. Fearing the worst, he ran to town. When the authorities returned to the farm, they found the bodies of 3 children and the headless body of a woman. The sheriff believed that the family had been murdered and that the fire was a result of arson. He decided to go and have a talk with Ray, remembering what Belle had said about him in the past. Ray initially claimed to have nothing to do with the fire, but several witnesses placed him at the scene, and he was promptly arrested. A lot of people began to express doubts that the headless body could have belonged to Belle. The body seemed too thin and too short to belong to Belle Gunness. Without the head, the local dentist couldn't provide much information, but alongside the body, they found some sort of dental implant that the dentist could identify as having belonged to Belle. Because of this, the body was ultimately determined to belong to Belle. A short time after this, Andrew's brother arrived in LaPorte, Indiana. Azel shared his worries about Belle with the police. The police then began to investigate the farm. That's when they began to find bodies. The police estimated they found up to 40 victims, many of which went unidentified. One of the victims had been Jenny Olson. Belle had told people that Jenny had gone to a Lutheran college in California, but she was buried on her foster mother's property in Indiana. Ray was put on trial. When it came to the arson, he was convicted. When it came to the murder, he maintained his innocence. He told everyone that he had helped Belle get rid of the body, but that it had been her who committed the many crimes. He claimed that she liked using strychnine poisoning, or bashing people over the head. This is similar to how Peter is believed to have died. Finally, Ray told people that Belle hadn't actually died. He told the police that the headless body didn't belong to Belle. Instead, the body belonged to a woman Belle had hired as a housekeeper. Belle had allegedly killed the woman and children before escaping into the night. Ray stated that after the fire, he was waiting around because she was supposed to meet up with him, but she never returned. Assuming Ray is telling the truth, it's estimated that Belle had stolen about $250,000 from her victims, which converted to today's money would be about $6 million. The police checked with the bank, and Belle's accounts had been emptied shortly before her disappearance. Today, no one knows if the headless body belonged to Belle or not. The body was buried next to Mads Sorensen, under the assumption that it was Belle. In 2007, the body was exhumed. Belle had written many letters to her victims, and some of them survive today. There was a hope that some of her DNA might still exist under the flaps of one of the envelopes. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough remaining DNA to compare it to the body. They did, however, determine that the woman was tall enough to be Belle. Some people believe that Belle Gunness made her escape. There was a woman named Esther Carlson living in Los Angeles, California in 1931. After poisoning a wealthy man, Carlson was arrested. A lot of people noticed that Carlson bore a striking resemblance to Gunness. While awaiting trial, Carlson would die in the Los Angeles prison. Former residents of LaPorte would travel to the morgue and identify the body as that of Gunness. It is said that Esther Carlson carried with her a photograph. Inside the photograph were people who looked a lot like Gunness's children. What do you think? Do you think that Belle and Ray were working together to steal all of that money? Do you think that Ray got tired of seeing Belle with other men and decided to dispose of his partner? Or do you think that Belle killed an unsuspecting young woman that she had hired to be her housekeeper? Do you think there's any chance that the woman in California was Belle? We may never get an answer to these questions. I didn't really get much of a chance to talk about our Sims this episode, but the Belle Gunness case ran a little bit long, so I think I'm just gonna not really say much about Clara and Kyle this time around. They really haven't done much, but in the next episode we will be building Clara's bakery, so please come back for that. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're enjoying these historical cases, the next case will be one that has been kind of important to me for quite some time, but I will talk about that next time around. I'm gonna have to keep rejecting these opportunities that mean I have to travel because I know that takes money, and I don't even know if the reward would be worth actually traveling to these places, but I would like to try to save up my Sims money because I'm trying to get their house kind of in tip-top shape. I want them to have like a really nice house, and right now it's kind of basic. It's just what I had the money to do at the time. I probably could have done a little bit more, but I was excited to finally get to play this game again after so long of not playing it. Oh, and one more thing before we end the video. Does anyone else find the zombies on this game to be really annoying? I remember I had to disable them on my old computer because they kept, I don't know, my old computer was old and it didn't respond well to the zombies. The game used to crash a lot. I don't expect that problem to happen on this newer computer, but also I haven't really played Sims 3 on this computer, so we'll just have to see. So glad I remembered how to disable the zombies, though. In case you're curious, all you have to do is go into the settings and change the full moon to really anything else. Just keep it kind of trapped on anything but the full moon. The zombies always come out on the full moon. And if you want zombies all the time, you can set it to be full moon all the time. Though I'm not really sure why anyone would want to do that, because I'm pretty sure the zombies can like kill your characters, or no, they turn them into zombies for like a few days or something like that. I don't really remember, it's been too long. Test. Anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry for the rambling at the end here. That's just sort of me. I'm trying to figure out if I want to put my commentary on the game like within the mystery part of the video or just kind of tacked on at the end. And I don't really like having to interrupt the mystery to go back and forth. It seems kind of, I don't know, rude to stop talking about these serious cases to talk about a video game. I feel like at some point I'm going to start focusing more on the mystery than the actual gameplay. Also, if you at all hear my neighbor mowing their grass at any point in this video, I'm really sorry. I tried to do the recording when they weren't mowing their grass, but they've been mowing their grass all morning. It's been hours now. so it's been a little bit difficult to record around their schedule, and I have no idea when they're going to be done. I do think they normally mow on Thursdays, and I'm pretty sure it's Thursday, but I haven't lived here for very long, so I don't really know what their mowing schedule is.